Hi guys, I'm Mike and this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and we have Zach returning because if you guys obviously watched his segment on the F1 podcast a couple of weeks ago, you'll realise that there was an issue with the podcast, so we didn't really get to have the full chat and didn't do Zach's channel the justice that it deserves. So I invited him back onto the channel, and we're going to do a special episode today, just kind of talking about the driver transfer market. Obviously, because there's been quite a few moves, confirmations, a few seats still up for grabs with everything going on. So yeah, we got Zach back to check it on. But Zach, welcome back to the channel, mate.
Thank you so much for inviting me again. Like you said, there was a bit of an issue, but yeah, thank you so much for inviting me back.
No problem at all, mate. Completely my fault. So we got it on cameras this time. So hopefully the quality is better for you guys. But also, you know, fingers crossed on our end that nothing goes wrong on here. But yeah, we kind of introduced the topic there a little bit. We're going to be talking about the transfer market today. So I suppose it was a bit confirmed, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it. Obviously, I spoke about it in thinking... it looks like that Giovinazzi and Kimi Raikkonen would say, and Kimi Raikkonen and Antonio Giovinazzi do stay at Alfa Romeo. So do you think that is a good move for Alfa, or would you have preferred to see a change up in that driver lineup?
The thing is, with Kimi, I do genuinely really like Kimi. He's a good driver, but I think that it would have been a really good decision to bring in a younger driver. We could have kept Kimi to probably mentor those drivers, but I think I just don't know, because Antonio Giovinazzi, he's a good driver. He has the most positions gained in an opening lap. He has like 45 this season or something crazy like that, and he is a good driver, and he deserves a seat. And he's proved that a couple of times in the past, and this year especially, he's proved that he deserves a seat in F1. But I definitely would have preferred to see Schumacher in the car, like a Giovinazzi, Schumacher, Kimi Raikkonen, and Schumacher, because that would Raikkonen, Schumacher would be kind of cool to see from like the past, and It would be kind of cool to see a rookie in that car, because the fight between Schumacher and Eilert and kind of Schwartzman now in F2 is really engaging, and everyone wants to see who's gonna win, and I kind of want to see how they perform in F1 and who beats who in F1 in the pinnacle of racing. So yeah, I probably would have preferred Schumacher or Eilert to be in that seat. But yeah, they stuck with what they have. Is it a good decision? I think it's an okay decision, because they're not the best drivers right now, but they're decent and they can give you points. But yeah, I feel like it would have been a better decision to get someone like Eilert or Schumacher.
That's interesting for me, and I obviously come from it the other side of the debate, where I think experience in F1 by fans for some reason is becoming a really undervalued trait, and especially Kimi in terms of what he can give feedback wise and development on a car. And, you know, literally he is the most experienced driver on the grid currently racing in Formula One. And considering some of the performances he's putting in this season, that, you know, it's difficult to be consistently good in what hasn't been a great car for Alfa. It has probably a good 6 months in the past 2 seasons. The rest of the time, from probably about midway through the 2019 season, it's been a really kind of unpredictable up and down car. And so it's really hard to put consistent performances together. And, I think you put an important point there with Giovinazzi. He has done points that say, he is a good driver. And I think as much as we want to see young talent coming through, we've got to say that they've earned it. And if Callum Ilott had continued from the start that he had in F2, I would have said 110% Giovinazzi should have made way, or Kimi, whatever they would have preferred to go there, and Callum Ilott to come in, because he would have really fought and he would have really battled for that seat. But considering that he's lost the lead in the championship, yes, he can obviously still win the championship in the last rounds, but it seems favourite for Mick to do it, how he has come back, and just the gap that was between Ilott and Schumacher in the championship, it kind of really does feel like Ilott's let the chance slip. And then if you compare the two careers or junior careers of Giovinazzi and Ilott, there isn't anything outstanding, I would say, about Ilott. And I would actually say that Giovinazzi has the better junior career. So considering that he's had 2 years grounding within the sport, and if the car is better next year, we could really see Giovinazzi push on and be a good driver within the sport. And so I think, like you said, I think it's an okay decision. I get why people want to see new faces, because we like a kind of recycle. We all, something new is always exciting. I think we get excited by Zach, but I think it's a really solid team that sets a really good foundation for them going into next season, and obviously the new regulations in 2022. And they're going to have plenty of experience and development knowledge with those two that hopefully lends Alfa Romeo to producing a pretty decent car in the future. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Like I said, Giovinazzi, he's shown flashes of speed, and when he's really consistent, he has an amazing race. But I think he's a bit inconsistent, and I feel like so is actually Ilott, because he gets wins, but then the next week he won't even score points, and then the next week he'll be on the podium, and then the next week he'll be in like 9th position, or next week again he'll like win a race, and then he won't score. I feel like Schumacher has put in performances that are really consistent, and he can win 1 week and then he'll be on the podium, then win and then podium. He's very consistent, and I think that if Alpha wanted to go for a younger driver, I think they should have gone for Mick rather than Ilott, because I feel like Schumacher would put in those performances consistently.
Absolutely. But could Mick Schumacher, I mean, obviously we spoke about it when you did come on the podcast, could Mick Schumacher fill in the seat at Haas alongside what we presume is going to be Nikita Mazepin, with the kind of financial backing that he's going to bring into that team? So therefore, Mick still gets a seat in Formula One. So therefore, I think if Mick gets a seat in Formula One with Haas, then the Alfa Romeo decision doesn't look bad at all. If Mick suddenly doesn't get a seat in F1 and has to be a test driver for a year, I think that's when you could argue that there's a serious issue going on there.
Yeah, I definitely think he deserves an F1 seat this year, because the performance he's put on this year is just absolutely amazing. He was actually, at the start of the season, he was last in the Ferrari Junior Academy, and he skyrocketed. Now, I'm pretty sure he's leading by 50 points now over Ilott in second place. So, he definitely does deserve a seat, and I think that if Haas doesn't go with him, I think people will be definitely mad, because, yeah, I think that everyone seems to want to see Schumacher in Formula One next year.
Yeah, I think he's definitely earned it, especially if he wins that championship this year. He definitely has earned that call up to the big league in F1 from that perspective. So I think that rounds up the kind of too. Obviously, we don't want to talk about Haas too much because you obviously spoke about it on the podcast. So I tell you what, 2 possible big seats available. Now, I think we all kind of think that Lewis Hamilton will sign, but I don't know if it's, mix of Toto talking about, enjoying spending more time with his family, Lewis not committing as of yet, talking about things. Maybe the competition or competitive edge is gone for him and he feels like he's getting older now. And when it is the competitive edge, will he be at his best to kind of challenge a Max Verstappen in the future? I don't know what's playing on his head. But can you see Lewis Hamilton walking away at the end of the season after equaling Michael Schumacher's record?
Yeah, I think that it kind of makes sense because he is now the most accomplished driver in terms of wins and pole positions. I would be sad to see Lewis go. Again, a lot of people don't like him because he wins all the time, but we do got to remember that he is definitely one of the greatest drivers of all time, and we need to kind of appreciate when they're here because again, Lewis might not be here next year. So we need to a lot of people need to think about we may not see him in the future. But him walking away would be sad. Mercedes, I think their dominance might end in 2022 with the new regulations because a lot of people are saying Honda's leaving might give Red Bull a new engine supplier, and then they might rise to challenge for the title and might win the title with Max Verstappen and whoever's in the second car, who's more likely going to be Hülkenberg, by the way. But I feel like Mercedes and Lewis, if they do end, it would kind of make sense because they've accomplished as much as they possibly can now, winning the most consecutive titles in a row. I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure.
No, absolutely. They have won the most consecutive titles ever.
Yeah. So they've accomplished, I think, as much as they possibly can. So them to part ways would make sense, but it would be kind of sad to see.
No, I absolutely agree, and you're bang on right. I don't think Lewis gets the appreciation that he deserves, and I think it's a shame because I would have loved to have seen Lewis just pushed more. I think it's something that we bring up on the F1 podcast quite a lot. Like, I've no doubt, and it's not a criticism to Lewis and Mercedes because they can only beat what's put in front of him, but we haven't had a title fight or a title go down to the last race since 2016. And the Mercedes dominance era has just been, no one's really got close. I know Ferrari of 2017, 2018 kind of got close with Sebastian Vettel, but if the title race doesn't go down to the last race for me, it isn't a serious challenge. I know some people will feel that there are elements of it that Lewis was seriously challenged, but yeah, I kind of feel they weren't really pushed all the way during that time. But Lewis, what more does he have to achieve? Yes, he could stay in it in 2021, but it would be just achieving records for records' sake, because I think Lewis full well knows that with all the kind of restrictions and freezes and everything, that if he turns up in 2021, he's won the title again. So he has number 8 in the bag. But I don't know whether it would mean as much for him because the other competition just isn't as close and can't challenge Mercedes. So I don't know. And Bottas, I think he came out in the press today actually saying that, Bottas deserves more respect. But, in all fairness, Bottas isn't a title rival to Lewis Hamilton. He's a superb driver that supports Hamilton in a really good way, but he's not someone who's going to challenge Lewis Hamilton for a title.
Yeah, and I don't think Mercedes really care if he does challenge for the title, Valtteri. As long as he keeps that P2 or P3, as he stays on the podium, I think, and gets P2 in the championship, I don't think they have any reason to release him. And yeah, I definitely think that he does deserve a little bit more respect, because he has won a couple of really good races, especially in Austria this year. He just looked really dominant, and Lewis could have won that race, but I think that Valtteri looked set on winning. But yeah, Valtteri, he is a good driver, but I think everyone is kind of used to, still kind of used to Nico challenging for that title for those years that he was in the team, and people want to see that again, because I think the last few years, Lewis won it with 3-4 rounds left in the championship, and there's not really any point in Valtteri winning anymore in that season. So yeah, I think people are a bit tired of seeing Lewis win, but then again, you have to remember that he can't really do anything, because if he stops winning, he'll get fired. And yeah, so I definitely think that
he's got to do his job, hasn't he?
Sorry, what?
He's got to do his job, hasn't he?
Yeah. He can't just stop driving, because that would just end his career, and I don't think that he would want to end it like that just to be fired. So yeah, I think that people need to kind of lay off some drivers, stop giving them so much pressure, and yeah, I think that Valtteri, he is definitely going to stay longer than Lewis. Lewis is, I think, 3, 4, maybe 5 years older than Valtteri. So yeah, I think that if Lewis leaves, Valtteri will step into the spotlight, or maybe even George Russell will step into the spotlight to challenge for the title in Mercedes.
Yeah, it'd be fascinating to see, wouldn't it? And I think probably the last seat we'll talk about in today's video before rounding off things is the Red Bull seat. Now, I know, obviously, yeah, you're a fan of Alex, and he's a guy who has come under extraordinary amount of pressure, which, like you said, it is difficult. He's trying his best, but it just, for me, is someone who's just out of his depth at this moment in his career. The opportunity came too soon, and unfortunately, the musical chairs of Formula One make it really a difficult position that he's in right now. But who do you see claiming that Red Bull seat for 2021? Do you see Alex retaining his position? Do you think it'll be Sergio Perez? I mean, I think you mentioned it, Nico Hülkenberg, that you thought was favourite earlier in it. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I said, I think Nico is more than likely going to take it, but I don't think Perez is in the seat. I don't see him in the seat, and I don't think that they're going to get him anytime soon. But I definitely think that if Alex performs, if he can do something to prove that he is worthy of a seat, maybe they take him for 2021. I don't think that they will. But I do genuinely hope that he does at least stay in F1, because he is a good driver. He's proved that in Mugello. He has amazing speed, and in Austria, if he didn't have that tangle with Lewis, he would have gotten a podium, and also in Brazil, he would have gotten a podium as well. But he just hasn't performed like he did in 2019, where he consistently was P6, P5, if someone went out, P4. He was consistently there, and he's just not showing it these last few races, and actually the entire year, actually. It's really sad to see, because he's kind of part of that F2 sophomore rookie kind of thing with Charles, George, Lando, and him, and their chemistry together is really cool to see in F1. and if I feel like if one of them go, would be weird to see. But I think Alex he has talent, but he just doesn't have the mentality and the mental strength to be in that seat. And he's come under like a lot of criticism, and I think this might be a little bit of personal preference, but I think that people need to stop criticizing him so much, because to say that Alex doesn't have the speed worthy of a Red Bull seat, fine, that's perfectly fine to say. But when there's things like what Jacques Villeneuve said, where the only reason that he's in F1 is because he's Thai, is a bad thing to say, because one, that's not true. Alex has shown that he does have speed.
Fairness to Villeneuve, I think the statement should be wrong, but I believe the connection and actual quote from the article was that he believed that his Thai connection was due to half of the Red Bull company being Thai, and that's why he had a stronger link of being in that Red Bull seat. But look, yeah, I absolutely agree with you that Albon has a talent. But here's a question I wanted to ask you in terms of it, because I think, it is quite difficult, and I think we kind of forget in terms of cars can quite disrupt our view on drivers. Do you think that Albon has been better than, say, an Antonio Giovinazzi in the past 2 years within Formula
1? Yeah, I think that he has been better than Giovinazzi. But to be fair to Giovinazzi, he hasn't had the same opportunity as Alex to be in a top team. He's been in Sauber, Alfa Romeo for his entire career, and Alex got the chance to be in a top team. I think that if Giovinazzi was in a top team, if he had the opportunity to go to Ferrari, I don't think that he'll perform amazingly well. But I think he'll perform decently well. I think that he would perform like how Alex performed in 2019, whereas he would get the P6, P5 kind of range. And again, he hasn't had the same opportunities as Alex, so I just don't really know. But right now, I think that Alex has done a bit better than what Giovinazzi has done.
It was a difficult one to compare, and it's where in my mind thinking, I would say, to me, if you compare it's difficult to compare because of, like you said, the opportunities that they've been given. But I'd say, considering they've made similar sort of mistakes from good positions that they've been in, and they've shown inconsistencies as well as being really quick at times. So I think they've had a similar time, and I think trying to build on your argument of being harsh on people in terms of within the sport. Now, if people wanted someone like a Giovinazzi to be out of the sport, then I'm not entirely sure whether someone like an Alex Albon that people would desperately want to keep in the sport has necessarily done as much to kind of prove on there. I think for a lot of these drivers, if you get to F1, you're an incredibly talented driver, and that can't go without saying. But then there's an elite level above, and I think there's just that level of the Giovinazzis, the Albons of the world, where you have to be in the right place at the right time, otherwise you're out of the sport, like a Stoffel Van Dorn. And everyone, if you look at Stoffel Van Dorn's F1 career, you'd say that he was an awful driver, but he's gone to Formula E and proven that he isn't an awful driver, and that, his junior record was something, and he had a better junior record than both Albon and Giovinazzi, technically. So I agree with you. It's difficult. I think Alex, unfortunately, his opportunity within a top team came before he was allowed to develop. And if you look at all the guys who have done successful in the team, Charles Leclerc is probably one who goes against the mould, but we can all see that Charles is a little bit of he is that elite level driver. on that plane, so he was able to make that step. But even the likes of Max Verstappen had time within more time within Toro Rosso to develop and improve before he got the call up to the big team. And it's difficult for someone like Alex, and I think unfortunately, with the opportunity coming too soon, that it's probably not going to work out well for him, and it may end his F1 career. But hopefully, he gets an opportunity like Gasly to go down to AlphaTauri and prove that he does have talent within the sport.
Yeah, I think that if he does go to AlphaTauri, if they don't fully just release him from their program, I definitely think that he could actually maybe go back and fight for that Red Bull seat. Like Gasly was kind of in the same position last year, where a lot of people were he has speed, and then they promoted him, and then he just didn't perform, and they demoted him back, and then now all of a sudden he has just amazing speed and is consistently up there. And his win in Monza really proved to me that, to be honest, I think that Red Bull keeping Gasly at AlphaTauri was a bad decision. I think they should have promoted him to the Red Bull seat. I would have said that not Nico Hulkenberg, it should have been Gasly, because Gasly has shown that he is the best driver, the most improved driver this year by a long shot. And I think that if Alex goes back there, I think that he can, obviously he would be kind of broken, not really broken, sorry. He would be I don't really know how to phrase it, but his confidence would be down, being demoted. I think that he'll get a chance to build his confidence back up, and then build how he drives, and maybe later, if Red Bull see that he has enough speed, they bring him back to the actual senior team, and maybe he has a shot at winning some races in the future. But I don't think that he has a chance to fight. I don't think he has a chance to get that Red Bull seat, because especially these last few races, he has just really struggled and hasn't scored points at all. So yeah, it's sad to see, but I don't think he will be in the Red Bull seat next year.
No, with you, I hope, because he is such a nice guy. I think he's shown enough to be given that chance to prove what Gasly did, because obviously you can go the Gasly or the Kvyat way, and Kvyat was just crushed when he went back to then obviously Toro Rosso, and ended up out of the sport and only been brought back in the last couple of seasons. Or you can go the Gasly way, and like you said, I agree, Gasly has probably done more than enough to have been shown to be promoted back up to Red Bull. But there's this kind of feeling within Red Bull that they almost don't like to be proven wrong, or maybe they just feel that they are invested in Gasly's development, and they want to give him another season in AlphaTauri to keep on progressing, being a team leader, for maybe planning to, if Lewis does leave Mercedes, that Max Verstappen might go there, and Gasly then is the guy to lead Red Bull forward. I don't know on that aspect, but it's been a brilliant chat with you, Zach. Thanks for coming back onto the channel, and fingers crossed everything is okay on this. Let us know in the comments on audio on that front. But it's been a brilliant chat with you, and getting your thoughts, obviously, on a transfer market that's been very interesting, I think, so far in 2021. But thank you so much, Zach.
Thank you for having me on. It's been fun.
No problem at all, bud. It has been a great chat. And as like last time, guys, I will leave a link to Zach's channel in the description down below, UpShiF1. And you guys obviously go and subscribe, because it is a great up and coming F1 YouTube channel as well. So yeah, but that's it from us today, guys. If you're new around here, you can subscribe to the channel, of course, and keep up to date with all our latest content. But that's it, guys. So for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.